Hi BookTube, Chelsea the Reading Outlaw here to talk about my July TBR and reading plans. Yeah, we have some books here to talk about, guys. Let's hop right into it. I'm awful at doing introductions. We'll talk about the nonfiction first, since there's not too horribly many of those. In July, I'd really like to read Smarter Than You Think by Clive Thompson. This is a book I've heard talked about quite a bit over on the Book Riot, various media sources, website, and podcasts and whatnot about basically how the internet is maybe not as terrible for us as we think. There's a lot of reporting about how the internet is making us unable to focus and not as observant and not as able to retain information. And Clive Thompson alleges or postulates that that's not entirely true and that the internet's actually doing a lot for us. I'm really excited to get through it. It's not that thick. From what I understand, it's a decently easy style and tone to get through. It's not exactly like super dense nonfiction, and it's blurbed on the back by Joshua Feller. And I really enjoyed Moonwalking with Einstein when I read it, so I'm just really excited to get into that. The other nonfiction book, well, one of the other nonfiction books that I'm hoping to read this month is Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari. I'm assuming that's how you say it. This is kind of the opposite of Smarter Than You Think, in that it seems to be a very dense kind of exploration of basically the evolution of mankind from Homo sapiens into, the rest of what we are today. It's really interesting. The reason I'm showing you the pages is because, I don't know if you can see, but they're like shiny. So it's been a while since I've ever really had a book like that. But I saw this on Jen Campbell, the bookseller's blog. She talked about this, I think, on her Be a Good Human book tag, possibly just in one of her recently readings. But yes, it sounds absolutely fascinating. I will link to her channel down below in case you want to go check it out and get some more recommendations from her. I would thoroughly recommend you do so. I'm really excited to get through that. I'm thinking this might be like a July and August read, depending on how dense it is, because I also have one more nonfiction book, and that is Come As You Are, which is a kind of pop science, sexual history, sexuality, science book that I am reading that I don't have because I left at work. I'll put the cover in, as always, when I don't have something. But yeah, I am really enjoying this. I'm about 70 pages in, and it's really interesting to read through. There's lots of information that I didn't know, and some information that I kind of already did, or that just makes kind of really common sense to me. But I'm really enjoying it, and it's a breeze to read through, which is something that I really enjoy in pop science books. Moving on from the nonfiction to the graphic novels, there are two series that I want to start that I've hauled recently, so you guys would have seen them, but haven't actually started yet, despite my best intentions. The first one is Black Science Volume 1, How to Fall Forever, and then Black Science Volume 2, Welcome Nowhere. This is, again, a series about basically a jump through a time-space continuum to a different set of planets, and the science who kind of created this is they are now in panic mode, and he's trying to fix it, and he's trying to get control back. It's blurbed on the back by Patton Oswalt and Benjamin Bailey from IGN. I just am really excited. I am really interested in the art style. I think it's going to make for a really interesting read. I don't know much else about it other than it's highly recommended on a number of science fiction, fantasy, graphic novel lists that I've seen, and I'm really excited to start out. I know for a fact that my library has the next, couple of volumes of this, so hopefully if I like it, I will be able to just kind of dive in. And next up, I've already started this first one, the first volume, and it's Why the Last Man Unmanned. And then there's the second volume, Why the Last Man Cycles. And I've already started the first one. Basically what happens is one day a plague strikes and every man dies except for this man. This guy right here. You see him? Right there. Yorick, that's his name. He's right there. Why? York. And he has this pet monkey, and they travel around together because he's the only one who survived. I'm literally just to the page where the plague actually hit in the first volume. Everything else, all the other information I have is from the back jacket. But that is that. I'm really enjoying reading my way through that. And I'm just looking forward to seeing where the kind of next volume goes. This is another one where my library has quite a few of the back issues. So I'm just looking forward to having another graphic novel universe to fall into. All right. Getting into the actual books themselves, I said I was going to read this in June. I didn't. I took kind of a break, so I'm going to read it in July. It's Heartless, the next volume in the Alexia Tarabotti series. Alexia Tarabotti is a soulless, which means that in a world where vampires and werewolves exist because of an excess of soul, her soullessness counteracts that, so she's able to take away the powers of vampires and werewolves when she has physical contact with them. She romps around and has adventures with the fabulous vampire Lord Akeldama, as well as her werewolf husband Connell Macon. It's absolutely just delicious and naughty, and it's steampunk Victorian, and it's kind of, sci-fi with standard creatures, but done in a whole different way. So I'm excited to see where the fourth volume takes us. And then I think there's just the fifth one, and then that's it. I think that's it for this series. Gail Carriger has a couple of other series that spin off of this, as well as a couple of YA series. So I'm looking forward to having her back catalog to get into. Also, this month, at some time to be determined, I'm planning on joining in on a group read of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clark. This is a big ol' fantasy chunker, wizard, magic, England, 18th century Victorian kind of stuff. I never actually read it. I wanted to. I started to a couple of times, but I never got further than like page 100, 150. So hopefully being in the group read will kind of spur me to do that, because I think the BBC just started or just wrapped up a series of this, like a television adaptation of this, that I've heard is supposed to be really good, or is really good, because I'm not actually sure if it's out yet, because I don't know these things. But yes, let me know if you know down below in the comments. When the group read starts, I will look forward to getting another try at Jonathan Strange. All right. Also this month, in preparation for his new book coming out, I will be reading/listening to Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This is also a reread, which is why I'm going to be reading it when I get the chance, but also listening to the audiobook on Scribd. I'm really excited for the audiobook because it's narrated by Will Wheaton, who is like my nerd crush obsession, and I am in love with him, and I love him and tabletop and just everything that he's ever done. So I'm excited to reread this by listening to it with him, as well as reading through the book itself. I really, really enjoyed this one the first time. If you have any kind of affinity for the 80s or video games or other pop culture-y stuff, this one would be right up your alley. It's also a really good kind of intro, beginner science fiction-y book, because it takes place pretty much all in like a virtual world. Do yourself a favor and read it. His next book, Armada, I will now put the cover here. Armada comes out this month, and I will be group reading that with a bunch of different people who I don't remember at the moment because I don't have the list in front of me. But yes, I am super looking forward to that coming out because I loved Ready Player One so much. I think it comes out the 19th or the 29th. I don't remember. Maybe the 9th. I don't know. It has a 9 in it. I got that. Who needs numbers, right? Book people. That is Ready Player One. Also, as part of a group read this month, I will be reading Tower Lord by Anthony Ryan. This is the second book in the Raven's Shadow trilogy. It is quite the chunker. It's a decent size. The first one was Blood Song. I just recently reread it by listening to it on audiobook, and I really enjoyed the reread. I've heard mixed reviews about this one, but I'm really excited to get caught up with Valen and to see the adventures that he's now going on and what's going on with him and the whole group. I just am hoping, fingers crossed, that it ends up being as good as the first one, because I really, really enjoyed the first one. The next book I want to get to is The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. This is the second in the Kingkiller Chronicles series. The first one was The Name of the Wind. I enjoyed the first one. There were parts of it I felt that could have been edited and that were a little long for my personal taste. I also had some issues with some character choices, and I've heard that there are some other kind of sketchy choices in this book. But I just think that Patrick Rothfuss's writing style and the way he creates his magical system is one of the better ones that we have in this day and age. I think, obviously I enjoy Brandon Sanderson more, and I think Brandon Sanderson is better, and comparing the two is difficult, but I hear them compared a lot. And I think that Brandon Sanderson is superior in that, but I don't think that takes away from the fact that Patrick Rothfuss is an amazing writer. And there is just this kind of luxuriation and this kind of you just kind of want to sit in his words and in this world that he creates, but it's not always necessarily like the most compelling or the most succinct or the most dynamic. But I'm really excited to get to this one. I'm probably going to take it fairly slow. This might also be one of those July and August reads because the third one's nowhere near coming out. He just published the novella The Slow Regard of Silent Things, I believe, which is like told from one of the kind of secondary characters, but it's just all about her and her day and like going through her life and her adventures. I haven't read it yet, but it's also on the TBR for eventually, but I have no idea, and I don't think he has any idea when the third one will be published, so it's not like I'm in like a hurry to catch up or anything. So that is the last paper book that I have to show you that I hope to finish this month. I also hope to get through The Hero of the Ages by Brandon Sanderson, which is the last Mistborn book, which I'm reading on my Kindle. I just am absolutely adoring it. I'm in no rush to get through it. I've heard it's supposed to be absolutely fantastic. I just don't really want it to end, even though let me show you what I have. I recently picked this up the other day for the Brandon, or the Year of Cosmere. There we go. The Year of Cosmere read along. They are reading this in one of the later months, August, September, something like that. It is the first in the Stormlight Archives, The Way of Kings, and I'm so excited. But even with that, I am in no hurry to finish the final Mistborn book because I'm absolutely adoring the series. I had some issues with some things that happened at the end of the second book and some characters in the second book who like weren't my favorite. I will talk about that in my big collective review that I do of all three when I finish The Hero of the Ages. But yes, I am excited to read that. Let me consult my little handy dandy notebook here. I think I just about got it. The only other thing that I wanted to mention is that also digitally, I will be reading Dead House Gates, which is the second in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series. I read Gardens of the Moon in June, and I really, really adored it. I'm really liking just working my way very slowly through the books. There's a lot of info to take in, a lot of connections to see. Erickson is a very subtle writer. I also am really enjoying having Caitlin and Michael, who are there to talk me through the first one, around to ask questions to if I need to for working my way through the second one. They are just getting bigger and bigger, as fantasy books tend to do, so this is another fairly big one, but because it's an ebook, that's a little bit easier of a factor to ignore. But that is the last ebook I will listen to. In terms of audiobooks, like I said, I'll be listening to Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, as well as reading it. But I will also be doing a reread of Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. I will be listening to it on audiobook. I adored it. I loved it, loved it, loved it when I read it, but I read it as a part of a summer school class where we had to read a bunch of young adult fiction, so I don't feel like it kind of got the attention that it really deserved, and I'm pretty sure that the audiobook narrator for Eleanor and Park is the same as the one for Fangirl, and if that's the case, then I'm really excited because I really, really enjoyed that narrator. I just like Rainbow Rowell's work, and so I'm excited to kind of get back to another one of the stories that I think is like one of her best. Those are the July reading plans. That about wraps it up. Let me know down below which one of these I should start with first or which ones I should maybe push back to a later date. Also, let me know if there's something coming out soon or that you've recently got a hold of that you absolutely think I need to start. All right, everybody have a good day, and I will see you guys around the internet. Bye.